My name is Mia. I'm 22 years old. And this is the story of how I made my own parents think I had gone missing. It all started on a normal Tuesday night. It was the kind of night where you come home after class, wanting nothing more than quick noodles and quiet time. I used my keycard, opened the door to my small apartment near campus, and stopped suddenly. The lights were on. The TV was playing some news show I never watch. And there, sitting on my couch like they owned the place, were my parents. Their shoes were off, snacks were on my coffee table, and my extra key was sitting on the counter. "Surprise!" my mom said cheerfully, like this was a fun TV show moment. My dad just raised his hand in a small wave, like surprising your daughter in her own locked apartment was normal. My heart pounded hard in my chest. "How did you even get in here?" I asked, my voice louder and sharper than I meant it to be. My mom held up the key. "You gave this to us when you moved in, remember? It's not breaking in. We're family." That sentence hurt more than any slammed door ever could. Because this wasn't the first time. The dishes that were suddenly clean when I never washed them. The laundry that was mysteriously folded. The food that appeared in my fridge when I knew I hadn't gone shopping. Every time I thought I was alone, they had already been here, walking through my space, judging my life, moving my things around. This time, though, something inside me broke. I smiled and sat down across from them. I let my mom talk about helping, and my dad joke about how lucky I was. And while they talked, I stared at that key on the counter and felt a new plan forming in my mind. If they believed that being family meant they could ignore any rules I set, what would happen if their little girl simply disappeared from the place they kept invading? Have you ever suddenly realized that the people who love you most might also be the ones keeping you from breathing? Keep watching, because by the end of this story, you'll see exactly how I moved out without telling them, made them think I was gone, and forced them to finally understand what it means to lose control. The night they took over my couch, I didn't yell. I didn't kick them out. I acted the way they expected me to. "You could have texted," I said, pretending to be only a little annoyed instead of ready to explode. My mom, Laura, laughed. "If I texted, it wouldn't be a surprise. Besides, look at this place, Mia. You needed me." She pointed at my half-folded laundry, the empty ramen cups, and the textbooks spread across the table. My dad chuckled like it was all a joke. "Your mom worries. You know how she is." I knew exactly how she was. I'd known since I was 10 years old, and she put a tracking app on my first phone for safety. Since age 13, when she read my diary by accident and grounded me for writing about a boy she didn't like. Since age 15, when she stood outside the bathroom door because I'd locked it for more than 5 minutes and she thought I'd fainted. And since age 16, when my dad had his heart attack and never came home. That was the day Laura's worry changed into something else. A need to control everything, disguised as care. As I watched her now, rearranging my spice rack like she owned the kitchen, a memory hit me. Standing in our old house, my dad's shoes still by the door, while she grabbed my shoulders so hard it hurt. "I already lost him," she whispered back then, eyes wild. "I am not losing you, too." At 16, I believed her. At 22, I realized what that promise had cost me. "You can't keep doing this," I said quietly, pulling myself back to the present. "Doing what?" She turned around, dish towel in hand, truly confused. "Helping. Being your mom. Showing up. Letting yourself in. Going through my stuff." My voice shook, but not from fear, from anger I'd been swallowing for years. "This is my apartment, Mom, not your second home." She got stiff. "We pay for half your rent. We bought your furniture. We have a right to make sure you're safe." There it was, the deal I never agreed to but somehow owed. Money for control. Help for access. A right. I repeated. "You think you have a right to my front door, my bedroom, my life, just because you helped me?" My dad shifted uncomfortably. "Let's all calm down. Your mom's just worried. You don't call. You don't answer sometimes. How are we supposed to know you're okay? You ask, I shot back. You respect my answer. You wait until I invite you. My mom's eyes filled with tears, and for a second I saw her panic peeking through. You stopped calling after you moved out, she said, her voice cracking. You used to tell me everything. Now I find out you dropped a class from your advisor, not from you. Do you know what that feels like? Like you're slipping away and I'm the only one trying to hold on. That should have made me feel guilty. Instead, it made me furious. Maybe I'm slipping away because you've had your hands around my throat for years, I blurted out. The room went silent. My dad stared at the floor. My mom's face crumpled. I'm just trying to keep you safe, she whispered. After your father. After Dad died, you didn't just keep me safe, I interrupted. You turned me into your emotional support animal, your project, your proof that you hadn't failed at everything. Her lips opened like I'd slapped her. I had never said that out loud. Not once. That's not fair, she said weakly. Is it fair to track every step I take? To read my messages when I leave my laptop open? To show up at my dorm at midnight because I didn't reply for 2 hours? I pressed. Is it fair that I'm 22 and I still jump whenever my phone buzzes because I'm afraid it's you demanding proof that I'm alive? My dad finally spoke. Mia, that's enough. No, I said, surprising myself. It's not enough. It's 6 years too late. I watched my mom sink onto the couch she'd claimed as hers, eyes looking around like she was searching for something solid to hold on to. For the first time, I saw it clearly. She wasn't just overprotective. She was terrified. Terrified that people she loved would disappear without warning, like my dad did. And in her terror, she'd built a prison. One with nice curtains and homemade meals, but a prison all the same. Here's the question that started burning in my brain that night. When does love stop being love and start becoming spying? And more brutally, if the guard is crying while she locks the door, does that make the cell any less real? I didn't know the answers yet. I just knew one thing. Talking wouldn't fix this. She didn't believe my words, so I decided to show her what it actually felt like when I was gone. I didn't come up with a payback plan in one big moment. It grew quietly, like mold in the corners of my mind. A week after the couch invasion day, I was at a coffee shop with my best friend Olivia. She listened to me rant, eyes wide, stirring her drink so hard the ice rattled. She has a key. Olivia hissed. To your actual apartment. Yep. She just lets herself in, cleans, rearranges things, sometimes leaves casseroles in the fridge like a guilt bomb. That's not cute. That's creepy, Olivia said flatly. You don't live in a sitcom. You live in a horror movie with good lighting. I laughed, but it came out strained. What am I supposed to do? Ask for the key back and start World War III? Olivia looked at me for a long moment. You don't ask, she said slowly. You make the key useless. I frowned. What do you mean? She leaned closer. Move somewhere they don't know about. Change your locks. Don't tell them. Let them show up to your old place and realize they have no idea where you are. The image hit me like a punch. My mom standing in my empty apartment, key in hand, staring at bare walls and empty shelves. No bed, no clothes, no daughter. For a second, I actually felt bad for her. Then I remembered her "it's not breaking in. We're family" line, and the guilt twisted into something darker. Is that too much? I asked, still half laughing, half testing the idea out loud. Too much for who? Olivia shot back. For the woman who thought she had the right to walk into your shower if you didn't answer the door fast enough. She wasn't wrong. Still, this wasn't a prank. This was psychological warfare. She'll panic, I murmured. She'll think something happened to me. You know what she thinks now. Olivia countered. That she owns you. That there is zero consequence to her ignoring your boundaries. Maybe she needs to feel, for once, What it's like when you're not there on command. The scary part? A tiny, ugly part of me liked that idea. A little girl inside me, the one who'd had her diary read and her phone searched and her social life treated like a security threat, wanted to watch my mother freak out. Wanted to see her realize she wasn't God. I don't just want to hurt her, I said, half to Olivia, half to myself. I just want her to stop. Sometimes people like that only stop when the thing they're afraid of actually happens, Olivia said quietly. She's terrified of losing you. But right now, she's losing you anyway. Just slower. And you're the one bleeding. The truth of that stuck in my chest. Slowly, we started sketching out details, not on paper, but in whispers over coffee. Step 1. Find a new place fast. Step 2. Move everything important in one weekend while my parents were busy. Sunday church, family lunch, their routines I knew by heart. Step 3. Leave the old apartment spotless but empty. Step 4. Go dark for just long enough. Not days, not weeks, just enough hours to make them feel the freefall they'd been forcing on me for years. You're basically staging your own tiny disappearance, Olivia summed up. But you'll be safe, alive, just somewhere they don't control. At night, lying in bed, I imagined my new life like a movie montage. Waking up in a sunlit room with no one knowing my exact schedule. Cooking what I wanted without texts asking if I'd eaten. Coming home whenever, without wondering if my mom was sitting on my couch like some domestic ghost. In those fantasies, I was lighter, louder, more myself. But then the montage would glitch, and another image would play. My mom standing in my empty place, calling my name. My dad dialing my number over and over. Voicemails piling up with their voices getting tighter, more frantic. What if they call the police? I asked Olivia one night. What if they report me missing? Then you answer when you're ready and tell the officer, I'm an adult. I moved. I'm fine. My parents just don't like not knowing where I am, she said. It's not illegal to move, Mia. But is it cruel? I whispered. Olivia didn't say anything for a moment. Then, was it cruel when she read your messages and grounded you for texting a classmate? When she showed up at your friend's house to drag you home because she had a bad feeling? When she broke into your dorm because you didn't text goodnight? My throat tightened. I'm not saying two wrongs make a right, Olivia added. I'm saying maybe this isn't revenge for revenge's sake. Maybe it's the only language she understands. Fear. That sentence stuck to my ribs. Was I really about to use my own disappearance to teach my mother a lesson? Or was I finally stepping out of the role she'd written for me? Here's the question that kept me up at night. When someone refuses to hear your no, how far are you allowed to go to make them listen? The lease on the new place went through faster than I expected. One signature, one money transfer, and suddenly I had a tiny one-bedroom across town under my name only. No co-signer. No parental address on file. For the first time in my life, I had an address my mother didn't know. I should have been excited. Instead, as I started packing, my stomach knotted so hard I could barely eat. I did it in stages, like a secret spy mission. School books first. Easy to explain if she dropped by. Oh, group project. Needed to reorganize. Then off-season clothes, vacuum-sealed and hidden in suitcases under my bed. Toiletries bought in doubles, so my bathroom looked untouched, even as I slowly moved my real stuff. At night, I wrote in my notes app like a secret diary. Day 3 of Operation Disappear. Took half my closet. Mom texted, send me a selfie. I miss your face. Didn't reply for 2 hours. She sent 3 more messages and a sad face emoji. Felt like a monster. Then remembered she once showed up to my workplace to surprise me and made my manager think I was in trouble. The more I packed, the more the lies multiplied. Can't talk, Mom. Studying. I was at IKEA choosing dishes she'd never touch. Phone died. Sorry. It hadn't. I turned it off for the first time in years just to see what silence felt like. Each ignored call added a brick to the wall I was building between us. And every brick had two sides. My freedom on one, her fear on the other. One night, she called 5 times in an hour. I watched my phone light up from across the room, feeling my pulse spike with every vibration. Olivia, sitting on my floor surrounded by half-filled boxes, grabbed my wrist. "Don't," she said when I moved to pick it up. "If you answer every time she panics, you're training her to panic." "She's my mom," I whispered. "She thinks if I don't answer, I'm dead." "You're not responsible for her trauma," Olivia said firmly. "You were 16 when your dad died. She was the adult. She chose to cope by gripping you until you couldn't breathe. That's on her." I sank onto the mattress, burying my face in my hands. "It feels like I'm punishing a scared person," I said. "Like I'm kicking a dog that already got hit by a car." Olivia's voice softened. "Or maybe you're grabbing the leash out of her hand before she drags you into traffic with her." I hated how much sense that made. A few days before moving day, my mom's messages changed tone. Less casual check-ins, more raw anxiety. "You've been distant lately. Are you mad at me? Please answer. I had a nightmare about you. I drove past your building today. Your blinds were closed. Are you okay?" She drove past my building just to look up at my windows, to make sure the shape of my life still matched the one in her head. Something in me snapped again, not into anger this time, but into cold determination. If I told her about the move, she'd turn it into a negotiation. She'd cry, promise to change, beg for the new address, demand an extra key just in case. And I knew myself. I would cave. I'd hand her the key like I always had. First to my phone, then to my location, then to my future. So I did the only thing that made sense to the part of me that was tired of being watched. I made a rule. For 72 hours, my life would belong only to me. No updates. No location sharing. No explanations. 72 hours for her to feel what I'd felt for 6 years, uncertainty. That night, I typed and deleted a dozen messages. "Hey, Mom. I'm moving, but I'm safe." Delete. "I love you, but I need space, so please don't freak out." Delete. "If you break into my place again after this, I'm changing my number." Delete. In the end, I sent nothing. I plugged in my phone, flipped it face down, and whispered to the dark, "Just 3 days. You can hate me for 3 days if it buys me the rest of my life." Here's the question that burrowed into my chest as I fell asleep. Is it still revenge if the person you're hurting is the one who taught you that fear is the only language that gets results? The day before I moved, my life looked normal from the outside. I went to class. I laughed at my friends' dumb jokes. I submitted an assignment 5 minutes before the deadline, like always. But underneath the routine, everything buzzed with a strange electric tension. My phone was a war zone of unread messages. "Mom, good morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep okay? Call me when you wake up." 2 hours later, you usually answer by now. "Is everything all right?" Then, "I had a bad feeling last night. Please tell me you're okay." I stared at the screen in the campus library, my cursor blinking on a half-finished paragraph about social contracts in political theory. The irony wasn't lost on me. What is a social contract, anyway, if not an agreement about boundaries? What happens when one party keeps rewriting the terms without asking? I locked my phone and tried to focus. My leg bounced under the table. Across from me, Olivia slid a sticky note onto my laptop. 24 hours until freedom. I snorted in spite of myself. That night, I didn't go straight home. I met Olivia at a small park a few blocks away from my soon-to-be-former apartment. We sat on the swings like kids, the metal chains creaking softly. "You ready?" she asked. "As ready as someone can be to mentally torture their own mother," I muttered. "You're not doing this forever," Olivia reminded me. "You're not disappearing to another country. You're moving across town and going dark for a tiny window of time. That's it. You say tiny like my mom doesn't measure time in panic units, I said. 3 hours to her is Mia's probably dead in a ditch. Or, Olivia said, pushing off gently, 3 hours could be the exact length she needs to realize she can't live like that anymore. People don't change when they're comfortable. I looked up at the darkening sky. What if she doesn't change? Then you'll know, Olivia said simply. And you'll build a life that doesn't depend on her permission. As I walked back to my apartment later, my phone rang again. Mom. I watched it buzz in my hand, then hit decline for the first time in my life on purpose. Immediately, a text. Why aren't you answering? Are you with someone? Are you safe? The familiar cocktail of guilt and anger flooded me. I could picture her pacing the living room, clutching her phone, replaying every worst-case scenario she'd ever seen on the news. For years, I'd rushed in to soothe her, to prove I was still breathing. Tonight, I didn't. I sent one message, I'm fine. Busy. Talk later. It wasn't a lie, exactly, just incomplete. Her reply came seconds later. Busy with what? Are you eating? Are you alone? I can bring you dinner. I didn't answer. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and started labeling my boxes instead. Kitchen. Books. Things that are actually mine. With every piece of tape I dragged across cardboard, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't just moving apartments. I was moving the center of my life from their world to mine. I crawled into bed surrounded by stacks of boxes, my room half stripped, and stared at the ceiling. My mind played 2 movies at once. In one, my mother barged into my apartment tomorrow, found it empty, and collapsed, sobbing, phone slipping from her hand. In the other, she got the message, really got it. She realized that her fear had consequences. That her daughter wasn't an emotional support animal or a device she could refresh. And in that version, she called me, not to demand, not to interrogate, but to ask, how can I love you without caging you? Which of those movies would play out? I didn't know. But I knew this, if I kept living the way I was, there would only ever be one story, hers. So here's the question I'll throw at you, the same one I asked myself over and over that night. If your freedom meant letting your mother feel, for a few hours, the terror she's been feeding you for years, would you do it? Or would you keep sacrificing yourself on the altar of her comfort? Moving day was a blur of sweat, adrenaline, and carefully timed lies. I woke up before sunrise, heart pounding, and sent my mom a message I drafted the night before. Super busy today. Big group project. Might be MIA for a while. Love you. MIA. Missing in action. The irony made my chest ache. Olivia arrived with her beat-up car and a trunk full of borrowed moving blankets. No going back now, she said, handing me a coffee. You sure about the 72 hours? I'm sure about the first 12, I said. We'll see about the rest. We moved like criminals. Fast, efficient, no lingering. Boxes down the stairs, into the car, across town, up another flight, back and forth, like we were shuttling pieces of my old life into witness protection. By noon, my old apartment was almost empty. Just a mattress, a folding chair, and a few decoy items left behind to keep up appearances from the hallway. A stray mug. A throw blanket. An old poster still on the wall. My phone buzzed all morning, vibrating on the counter like a trapped insect. Mom, good luck on your project. Send me a pic of your study group. An hour later, haven't heard from you. Did your phone die? Then, Mia, please respond. I didn't. Every time I considered it, I pictured her hand on my doorknob, twisting without knocking. Her voice floating down the hallway, it's me. Open up. As if that sentence was a skeleton key that unlocked any lock, any boundary. By late afternoon, everything that mattered was in the new apartment. It wasn't much. Some furniture, too many books, a few boxes of memories I hadn't had time to process. But it was mine. No extra key in my parents' drawer. No address saved in their GPS. I stood in the middle of my new living room, sweaty and exhausted, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, the absence of an invisible gaze. How does it feel? Olivia asked, dropping onto the couch. I looked around. Quiet, I said. In a good way. And also terrifying. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a text. It was a call, but not from my mom. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. Is this Mia Collins? A man's voice asked. Yes. This is Officer Ramirez with the lapt. Your parents came into the station. They are very worried. They reported you missing. My brain short-circuited. Missing. I repeated. Sir, I'm not missing. I moved apartments today. I'm fine. Olivia's eyes widened when she saw my face drain of color. Your parents said they went to your address, the officer continued. Your door was unlocked. The place looked abandoned. They couldn't reach you for several hours. Given your age, we have to take their concerns seriously. I closed my eyes. Of course they'd gone. Of course they'd used the key one last time. I pictured them opening the door to find nothing. No bed, no clothes, no daughter, just the ghost of the life they thought they controlled. A part of me wanted to feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. I appreciate you checking, I said carefully. But I'm an adult. I chose to move, and I chose not to tell them because I needed space. I'm safe. I'm not in danger. I just don't want them having access to my home anymore. There was a pause on the line. That's your right, the officer said finally. Would you be willing to call them? They're pretty shaken up. I stared at the ceiling. This was it, the moment my revenge stopped being hypothetical and became a sobbing woman in a police station, clutching a photo of me from high school. I'll call them, I said. After I hung up, I just sat there for a minute, phone heavy in my hand. Well? Olivia asked. They called the cops, I said. They went to the old place, found it empty, reported me missing. So the plan worked, Olivia said quietly. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. Yeah, it worked. How do you feel? Like I just pushed someone off a cliff and I'm waiting to see if they can swim. I dialed my mom's number with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. She picked up on the first ring. Mia. Her voice was high, ragged. I could hear noise in the background. Murmurs, a man's voice, maybe the officer's. Where are you? Are you okay? Oh my God, why didn't you? I'm fine, I cut in. I'm safe. I moved apartments. Silence. Then a choked sound. You moved, she repeated, like I'd said I moved to another planet. Without telling us? We thought, you have no idea. We went to your place and it was empty. And your phone. I told you I'd be busy, I said, hearing the cold edge in my own voice. I turned on Do Not Disturb because I didn't want to be interrupted. We thought you'd been taken, she sobbed. Your father nearly had a heart attack. We called hospitals. We drove around campus. How could you do this to us? There it was. Not I'm glad you're safe. Not I'm sorry I scared you so badly you felt you had to leave in secret. Just how could you do this to us? A part of me wanted to apologize, to soothe her, to fix the panic I'd caused. The other part, the one that had been a prisoner in her fear for 6 years, spoke first. That feeling you had today. I said quietly. That drop in your stomach when you opened the door and I was gone? That's how I felt every time you've appeared in my space without warning. Every time I saw your name light up my phone 10 times in a row. Every time I came home wondering if you'd been there, touching my things, reading my life. You've been doing this to me for years. That's not the same, she shot back, voice sharp through her tears. I was protecting you. You disappeared. I moved, I corrected. I didn't vanish. I didn't die. I didn't get kidnapped. I did something every adult has the right to do. I chose where I live and who has access to it. You reported me missing because, for once, you weren't in control. There was a strangled sound on the other end. Then my dad's voice came on, low and strained. Mia, he said, we were terrified. You have to see that. I do, I said. I see it very clearly. I also see that your terror has been my prison. And today, for 12 hours, you sat inside that same prison. How did it feel? He didn't answer. In the background, my mom was crying, repeating my name like a prayer or a curse. The officer must have been there too, because I heard him say gently, she's safe. She's an adult. You can't force her to share her address. The words hit my mom like a physical blow. You won't even tell us where you are, she gasped. You're our daughter. I am your daughter, I said. But I am not your property. I will tell you where I am when I believe you can handle knowing without abusing it. Right now, you've proven you can't. That was the moment the balance shifted. I could hear it in her breathing, in the way the room around her seemed to go quiet. For the first time in my life, someone with authority had told her no and backed me up. So what now? She whispered. You just disappear from our lives. No, I said softly. I'm asking you to meet me somewhere else. Neutral ground. Tomorrow. We talk. We set new rules. If you can't accept them, then yeah, I'll disappear from your house, from your doorstep, from your doormat, but not from the world. I won't let your fear eat my life just because it already ate yours. You sound so cold, she said. When did you get so hard? The day I realized you'd rather know what I'm doing every second than know who I actually am, I replied. Tomorrow. 3 p.m. The cafe by the station. If you want to see me, be there. If not, then I guess today was a preview. I hung up before she could answer. My hand shook, but my voice hadn't. That scared me almost more than her panic. Here's the question that echoed in my head as I stared out at the unfamiliar view from my new window. When you finally flip the power dynamic with someone who's controlled you for years, is the surge of satisfaction you feel proof that you've become cruel, or proof that you were never allowed to feel safe before? The next day, I walked into the cafe by the station, half expecting they wouldn't show. Half hoping, even if they didn't come, it would hurt. But it would also be simple. I could build my life without having to renegotiate the terms of our relationship. No drama, just distance. But they were there. My dad sat stiffly at a corner table, hands wrapped around a coffee he wasn't drinking. My mom sat beside him, eyes red-rimmed, fingers twisting a napkin into shreds. For a second, seeing her like that, I almost turned around. Then she looked up, and our eyes met. Something passed between us, not the usual bolt of guilt and submission, but something quieter. Recognition, maybe, that we were both about to step into a version of ourselves we hadn't met yet. I sat down across from them. No hugs. No small talk. Just 3 people and a table between us that felt a lot like a border. You look tired, my dad said finally. So do you, I replied. My mom let out a shaky laugh that wasn't really a laugh at all. We didn't sleep, she admitted. I kept seeing your empty room. I kept thinking, this is it. This is my punishment for every time I've called you too much. For every time I've shown up without asking. It's not punishment, I said. It's a consequence. She flinched at the word. Do you hate me that much? If I hated you, I would have changed my number and never called back, I said. I don't hate you. I love you. That's the problem. She stared at me, eyes filling again. Then why didn't you just tell me? Because every time I've tried to set a boundary, you turned it into a crisis, I said. If I said, please don't call after midnight, you'd stay up panicking until 11:59 and then blow up my phone at 12:01. If I said, Please don't come by unannounced. You'd show up with groceries, crying about how you couldn't help it. You trained me to believe that your feelings mattered more than my limits. Yesterday was the first time I chose my limits over your fear. She opened her mouth, then closed it. My dad cleared his throat. What do you want from us? He asked. Exactly. No guessing, no tests. I took a breath. This was the part that mattered. First, I said, you don't get my new address. Not yet. You know I'm safe. You know I'm in the same city. That's enough for now. My mom recoiled like I'd slapped her. You won't even let us know where you live. You've already shown me what you do with that information, I said calmly. Until you can prove you won't use it as a pass to invade my space, you don't get it. How are we supposed to visit? She demanded. You don't, I said. Not uninvited. If I want to see you, I'll come to you. Or we'll meet somewhere public, like this. If someday I decide you're ready to step into my home without treating it like yours, I'll give you the address then. And even then, there will be rules. She stared at me like she didn't recognize her own daughter. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she'd only ever known the version of me that folded under her tears. Second, I continued before I could lose my nerve. No more constant check-ins. You can text me once a day. I will respond when I can. If I don't answer for a few hours, that does not mean I'm dead. It means I'm living my life. If you can't handle that, that's something you need to work on, with a therapist, not with my call log. My mom's face crumpled, but my dad nodded slowly. That seems reasonable, he said. Laura. She turned on him. Reasonable? She disappeared. She moved, he corrected quietly. And the officer was right. She had every right. He looked at me. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. I let it happen. That's on me. That admission startled me more than anything else. For years, he'd been the buffer, the good cop, the one who told me, that's just how your mom is. Hearing him say he'd failed me, something in my chest unclenched. Third, I said, softer now, I need you to understand something, Mom. Your fear is yours. It was born the day Dad died. And I'm sorry you had to carry that alone, but you don't get to drop it on me every time your brain plays a worst-case scenario. I will not be your living alarm system anymore. If you wake up with a bad feeling, you can journal. You can call a hotline. You can scream into a pillow. But you cannot demand that I soothe you on command. She stared at me, tears finally spilling over. Do you have any idea what it's like to hold your husband's hand 1 minute and plan his funeral the next? She whispered. To answer a phone call and have your entire life split into before and after? My throat burned. Yes, I said. I was there too. I lost him too. But somehow, only one of us got permission to fall apart. You turned me into your reason to keep breathing. And then you decided the only way to keep me was to never let me out of your sight. That's not love. That's fear dressed up as love. For the first time, she didn't argue. She just cried. Not loud, manipulative sobs, the kind I'd seen when she wanted something, but small, broken sounds that made my own eyes sting. So what do I do? She finally choked out. Just stop caring. No, I said. Care differently. Care enough to let me walk home without tracking the route. Care enough to believe me when I say I'm okay. Care enough to risk your own anxiety so I don't have to live inside it. We sat there in silence for a long time. People came and went around us. Cups clinked. Milk steamed. Life went on. Eventually, my dad spoke. We'll try, he said. I can't promise it'll be perfect. I know your mom will slip. I probably will too. But I hear you. And if we mess up, you have my permission to hang up the phone, to walk out the door, to protect yourself. I won't call that disrespect ever again. My mom wiped her face with the shredded napkin. I don't know how to be the kind of mother you're asking for, she admitted. All I know is how to hold on. I never learned how to let go without feeling like I'm throwing you away. Then maybe we both have stuff to learn, I said quietly. You have to learn to loosen your grip. I have to learn to stop mistaking your fear for my responsibility. We can try, or we can keep doing what we've been doing and watch each other rot. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. You already almost did, I said. Yesterday, in that empty apartment, that was the closest I've ever come to cutting you off for good. I don't want that either. That's why I'm here. She looked at me for a long time, something new flickering in her eyes. Not submission. Not victory. Something like acceptance, or at least the first shaky step toward it. Okay, she said finally. I'll look for a therapist. I'll try not to break into your life anymore. A weak smile tugged at my mouth. And I'll try not to stage any more fake disappearances, I said. Deal. We shook on it. It was awkward and a little absurd, but it was also real, a contract, this time actually spoken out loud. Months have passed since that day. My parents still don't have my address. Sometimes my mom slips, sends 3 texts in a row, calls twice in an hour. When she does, I don't rush to comfort her. I wait. I respond when I'm ready. Once, she apologized on her own. Sorry, got carried away. Old habits. I'm working on it. That message meant more to me than any casserole ever did. Do I regret what I did? Sometimes, when I remember the sound of her voice at the police station, cracked and wild, part of me flinches. I didn't just draw a boundary. I set off a wake-up call that left collateral damage. But then I look around my apartment. My keys on my table. My mess exactly where I left it. My phone blessedly silent when I choose. And I know this. Without that explosion, nothing would have changed. My mom had to feel what it was like to not know where I was, to understand that her worst nightmare wasn't me being gone. It was me being gone on my own terms. So here's my final question for you, the one I still ask myself on the quiet nights. Have you found a balance between freedom and love? Or are you still letting someone else's fears script your life?